We're going to talk about the budget fight coming ahead in Dover, new scholarships available in Delaware, and wait till you see what we have for dessert. This is the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. Welcome to the Delaware Way. It's going to be quite a year in Dover with many issues on the table. Here to talk about them and some other things, especially some bills that you've been able to get through. Representative Debra Heffernan from the 6th District, which is Newcastle County, Brandywine Hundreds.
Correct.
Let me start with the budget. You are on the Joint Finance Committee.
Yes.
There was criticism last year, the way the budget was handled, because it was the short-term thinking, and that you took some settlement money and you were able to solve a problem for last year's budget. But now you have this year's budget coming up and the next year's budget coming up, and they don't think the revenue and the spending are going to match up this year, which would be quite a problem. Do you have any solutions?
Well, I wish I did have the great solution, because that's what we need. I think that our spending and all our social programs that are like what we call door openers, those are the majority of the budget, that and education. So what are we thinking of? I don't know. Yeah,
no, that's a fair answer. I can understand that, because you haven't even started the talks yet for this year.
No.
But is there a point? I mean, I just saw the list of the states across the country, and Delaware is the most tax-friendly.
Right.
Number one among all the states. And I know that's an incentive for businesses to come here, and the hope is that businesses will come, like J.P. Morgan just brought 1,800 jobs, and that will increase the tax base and you'll get more revenue. If that doesn't happen, if you're not able to attract businesses, if the tax base doesn't expand, you have to get revenue somewhere else. And I know nobody in Delaware likes to bring up the word taxes.
No. But we do need to look at different, like, revenue boosters, look at different ways of thinking for our state, because we have a very low tax structure. We have the lowest, I think there was something that said we were the lowest taxes in the whole country. And that might be something we have to look at, especially for corporations that are not having people work in Delaware, but they are incorporated in Delaware.
I know you have the one Republican vote on the Senate that can hold things up, and they will argue that we're holding things up because we believe that spending should be cut before anybody talks about raising taxes. Is there any more spending that can get cut without being draconian?
I think that we have, especially on joint finance, we've looked at so many cuts in spending that most of the spending that we're doing right now in the state are what we call door openers. Those are programs in Delaware Health and Social Services, Medicaid, and education. None of that can be cut. So we've made a lot of cuts we've cut a lot of staff for the state. We've made a lot of cuts. I think at this point, there's not much more trimming that can be done.
Is the gas tax off the table because it's so unpopular?
That I don't know, but I mean, I haven't heard talk of it this year, so that would make me guess, yes, it is.
Yeah, I know the governor was pushing it for a while, but it became so hugely unpopular. But I guess, I mean, that's the box that you're in, isn't it? I mean, it gets to the point where any taxes are so hugely unpopular. It's part of the state identity.
Right, to have low taxes. And I also think that we don't want a tax that would be regressive, like gas tax, that would hit people that are at the lower end of the income levels. So that's another thing why I think it wasn't that popular.
And when will the talks start in earnest on this? I know that the talks have continued.
We start our department budget hearings in February. So I think that although we are having some meetings this fall, we will start in earnest in February and March and continue all the way till the June 30th.
It's safe to say, I don't want to get into specifics because you probably don't know specifics at this point, but it's safe to say more revenue has to come from somewhere.
Yes, I think that in order to balance the budget this year, we not only do need to look at programs, but we also need a revenue stream.
Is it more difficult, these talks, as you go into the gubernatorial elections, as you go into election year? Is there politics played in all of this?
I think that it does play a role, But I think that no matter if it's an election year or not an election year, we know we have to do right by our state of Delaware and produce a balanced budget. There have been 2 task forces formed by the governor. One was a task force looking at spending and one to look at revenue. So I think we're also going to see what those task forces come out as recommendations.
JP Morgan announced that they're coming to Delaware. They're bringing 1,800 jobs, $200 million in capital spending. It's a huge win for the state and everybody in government that helped to make that happen. So congratulations to everybody in Dover in making that happen. It was a huge thing, and it came out of, to me, I'm sure you knew about it, but to me it came out of nowhere. And I thought, wow, there's all this talk about businesses leaving and difficulty of attracting businesses. That all goes away, it seemingly, in one fell swoop. That in itself isn't going to be enough, but I'm certain, I just want you to comment on it, I'm certain that's such a positive sign in the right direction.
That's a wonderful, positive thing happening in our state. We are so excited about JP Morgan Chase. It's right adjoining to my district that they're going to be there, bringing jobs, bringing capital projects, helping construction workers find work, which is part of our economy that's been hit very hard. So yes, it's a great win, and I think that that's also going to trickle down to have other small businesses that are going to support those workers, and they have to go to lunch and they have to go buy things, and
they're high-paying jobs.
Great.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. They're going to buy houses, and so you're right. It's a big boom to the economy. I went to the Newcastle County Economic Development Luncheon, and I was surprised as I heard business after business get up. And I know this isn't your district, but the first thing they brought up, every one of them, is we have to deal with crime in Wilmington. If you want businesses to come, we have to deal with crime in Wilmington, even those businesses that weren't in Wilmington. You have an adjacent district. I know you don't have a stake in the game in Wilmington, but don't we all have a stake? Because it's as much of a crime issue as it is a public image issue, that when people think of Delaware, sometimes they think of the crime rate in Wilmington. And I guess that leads to the question, does the state have a responsibility to Wilmington to fix this problem?
I think that we do have a responsibility not only to Wilmington, but to other municipalities in our state that are experiencing high crime, like Dover. There's a lot of reasons. I don't know the underlying reason of the increase in crime, but I know some of it is that young people can't find jobs. There's a lot of issues with drug addiction and gang-related activity that I think that we need to put all our resources together to solve these major crime problems.
So you have to go to the root of the problem.
That's what I think. I mean, I think it's more education for young people, increasing opportunity, and if those opportunities are there, I think that the easy out of going into crime and drugs is not going to be there.
You don't see it as a crisis that has to be dealt with immediately?
I do see it as a crisis that we have to deal with, but I think that we have to deal with not only the current crisis, but the underlying reasons that we are experiencing high crime.
You've been kind enough to talk about these two major issues, and I know you want to talk about some specific bills that you brought through, and I promise you we'll do that in the next segment. And one of them I love, and that is your new requirement for high school graduation, and we'll talk about that with Representative Debra Heffernan when we come right back.